the motherland, the African man. Long as I'm alive, I'ma make a plan. Strongholds to break, got long walks to take, got no votes to make. We don't bet, we pray. Hey, African man, yeah. The African male iris through the eye of an African male.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the African Male Iris. Thank you for joining us today, wherever you may be viewing this from. We just want to remind you to like and subscribe. Again, we're here back at our new studios, Scent Studios, and also just give them a like and subscribe as well on their pages. We're loving our new home.
Yeah, sometimes we look at ourselves in the monitors, so because we look so good.
Yeah, man. Let us know what you think of the new studio as well. We're just trying to change things up, making sure it's looking good for all of you. My name is DJ Tino, and my colleagues will introduce themselves.
My name is Prayer Soul, and I'm excited to be here again, guys. Like I said, we're looking good in the monitors. And we're here with a special guest. Our topic today is just going to be absolutely amazing. So I'm going to let the other guy introduce himself. He's always got a new name.
Yep, I'm back. Slim the Catalyst. Slim the Spur.
Oh my gosh.
I know these guys promised to tell you what all of these names mean, but yeah, I'll do a little short segment just to explain the whole journey of how those names actually came about and what they mean to me personally through my journey in life and what I now consider myself in the later stages of my life. But yeah, I'm so excited to be back again in the mix, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
With a wonderful guest who has a beautiful story to share with us. Absolutely. Can't wait to get into it.
100%. And you might hear a voice, a female voice in the background. Some of you might recognize it from a prior episode. Do you want to let the people know who you are, voice?
Hi, everybody. It's me again, Olivia, and I'm just the ghost today.
Yeah.
She's the ghost that's sipping on champagne.
So you see, those are the perks of not being in camera.
Right.
I think, and as my colleagues have mentioned, we've got a special guest with us today.
100%.
Victor Nkomo. I think, let me let you introduce yourself and whatever you want to share with the audience, then we can actually go into the topic of today.
Okay, my name is Victor Nkomo, the Uncondemned Dad. I guess it's all about unpacking the uncondemned dad part. But yeah, I've got 8 kids. 8 beautiful kids with 6 different women. That's where my story starts. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And of course, also to mention that Victor is a very successful businessman.
Oh, yes.
I would like to personally just mention that when I came through to South Africa, he also assisted me with some referral documents for me to pave my way here.
Right.
So appreciate Victor for that.
Thanks,
Yeah.
John.
So the topic or the episode today is on fatherhood, right? I think some of us prayer. You got 2. I got 2 kids.
Yeah,
right?
Victor's making us feel like we're playing.
So it's like I can combine all your kids, but they still can't.
He's like, all of us put together.
Yeah. So
Slim Shah, can you do something, bro?
You don't know.
You don't know if you have
don't
kids or
know.
not.
that's a good one. Yeah, so we're gonna touch fatherhood. Of course, we'll share some of our experiences, but the main focus, of course, would be Victor because, as Victor has mentioned, 8 children, right, and with 6 baby mamas. I won't even be able to comprehend how you handle that, but
Okay,
I'd like to hear that.
My first question. Can we start?
Eh?
Can we start the questions?
Okay,
Or you
do
still
we
wanna-
do we want
Don't you
Victor
wanna
to
give him
kind
some
of
time to-
Okay, all right.
Just
maybe
unpack
he
what
needs
he
to
could.
give us a summary. Yeah.
Yeah, where do I start? I mean, obviously, my story more like starts at when I'm 22. I'm already at varsity. So I grew up in Zim, Bulawayo. So grew up in a family of, I've got 3 sisters and 2 brothers, so we are 6 in my family. So the reason why I'm mentioning that is that I was more like the first one to go to varsity. And I usually say to my kids, most of the times when you receive so much credit from your parents, arrogance starts to build up. You think like I'm untouchable, I'm the best of the best. I believe in myself. I can do anything that I want to do. So now when I got into varsity, so I was more like a joker as well in the family, Well, like I'll go to my mom. I started drinking. I never drank alcohol until after A levels. So when I started, and remember, I grew up in a Christian environment, and not just a Christian environment, but Jehovah's Witness.
Wow.
And my mom was a staunch, those that know
like the
Jehovah's
next level.
Witnesses. He was more like a full-time pioneer, and
Wow.
she never imagined that Victor can touch alcohol, So I started sneaking, started drinking alcohol. And most of the times I'll come to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I wish I can impregnate 3 women at the same time. But I'm joking, So it went bad. 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, my last year. I always say you're the prophet of your life. 3 women are pregnant at the same time.
Wow.
3 women are pregnant at the same time. So one of them was more like my official girlfriend. All right. So, like in Ndebele, then they have to bring it to your family. And she comes. And I remember I used to say to my mom, I wonder if they bring the first one, I want to see the second one, the third one at the same time. But I was joking, And it happened exactly like that. So here I am now with the woman that ended up becoming my wife. And now she's pregnant, So my first son, actually, he was born on the 1st of March, 2001.
Okay.
Right? But fine. Okay, my daughter is actually older. So she was born on the 25th of September, 2000.
Okay.
And the second one, 1st of March, 2001. The next one, next month, April, 7th April.
Sure.
Jeez.
Right?
Yo,
Jeez.
So now it happened exactly that. Imagine you're
a
sitting
hit
with I'll say my wife, my girlfriend, and then my mom is a Jehovah's Witness. Now she's getting pissed off about this, She doesn't take it. And you just hear a knock on the door. Our house was like a 3-bedroom house. And she speaks in the way, she's like, hey, when I went back with people, some of your people are here again. And remember it's your final year.
Wow.
And now
You're still in
I'm still at varsity, and that's my final year, and I'm supposed to finish, So when I just sneak in the lounge, I found, wow, someone else. So I did my attachment in Harare at the Reserve Bank. So I'd met someone then, it was party, boom. That person called me like, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm like, seriously? Like, yeah, I'm pregnant, All right, then she disappeared. Then I met her one day, she's like, I'm no longer pregnant. But she's, I think she was just making jokes. Then boom, at 9 months, she came to my house. Second one. So my dad as well was a bit pissed off, and they said, you know what, you guys know that my son is finishing at varsity, he's going to be successful, so you guys are just lying, But I knew that she's not lying, But my dad was a very strict person, So when I tried to intervene and said, no, but I know, he's like, you don't know her. And she left. I think a month after that, another one comes.
Jeez. You were busy, eh?
Yeah.
Victor's fertile, guys. Doesn't
All
miss.
right. Now remember, I already know that there's someone else who's going to come, but I can't even tell them that, guys, it's not over
Third
yet.
one.
Sure.
And remember now, we grew up in a Christian environment, and now already there's just condemnation in your heart, like,
Oh yeah.
what kind of a person am I? All right, it happens next month. There was my uncle who used to be in South Africa, so somehow he understood my story. So now he's the only person who's trying to comfort me to say, no, it's okay, you know? And it happens that day when the third baby mama comes, so my uncle was there. So my uncle now comes and tries to speak to her. My mom says, never can they go. We don't want to even entertain them. And they left. But remember, my first wife did not even know what was happening. So there was my auntie who was staying around. So when the second one came, I went straight to speak to my aunt. I'm like, please, I just told Geraldine that, you know, you want to see it. Then I took it. So she just saw the car. There was a car outside. And when she came, she was like, I saw a car. What was happening? I'm like, I was my dad's friend, you know? Because now you're still young, you know, and now you don't even know how to handle the situation. Yeah. You know, so it happened. They all gave birth, you know. Now I've got 3 kids, you know.
At 22.
At 22. And I remember I had 2 subs because I was so under pressure. Like, by God's grace, I managed to finish my honors degree. I passed, you know. And immediately I came to South Africa. But now I've got 3 kids. But now because of that, you know, that preconceived religion, like, people must never know about this, you know. But deep inside, there's also that thing like, no, man, you need to take care of your kids. You know, my wife doesn't know. And I went on and I married my wife at 24, you know. And now we're here in South Africa. She doesn't know about those kids. You know, I'm the only one that knows. My parents know. But it happened that my first daughter, so her mother actually employed someone from my hood, right? So it happened that one day that girl comes, you know, to where I grew up, and she goes to my dad and is like, there's a rumor that the father for this girl is from here. My dad looks at her, and I was not there. I was in South Africa. I was living in Cape Town then. And I understand my dad cried. He's like, this is like Mzukulu, like this is Mzukulu. I'm like, you know, that's Victor's daughter. There's no doubt about it. And he went and paid all the dues and whatsoever. Then my daughter's mother came to South Africa as well. All right, there's the third born as well, you know.
Sorry, so with your wife, you had the son?
I had a son, yeah. Okay. But I ended up to have 3 kids with her. Okay. Because we were married for about 9 years, right? But like I said, I mean, we're very young, you know. To be honest, I don't even know what I was doing. There was no decision that I want to get married. You know, it was that thing of like, you know, she's beautiful and, you know, and I'm going to have it, you know, every night and it's going to be fun. But from day one, there was no fun. Reality. So now reality kicks in, you know, and I usually share this story, you know, and boom, you're in South Africa. And now you finish your degree, you're trying to, you know, work on your papers, you know, and you're sending your CV and all those big banks, like they're calling you for interviews, but nothing is coming, you know. And remember, I left my wife with my parents. You know, and there's that thing like, hey, how's she? What's happening? So before I even stabilize, I'm like, just come. You know, I remember I got a job as a teacher in Cape Town. And when I was in Cape Town, I wasn't even paid. These guys come month and they don't even pay you. And I remember I always laugh about this because I said to my wife, we are now fine. Please, you know, we used to use like napkins. You know, Pampers was a new thing. And I don't know how to buy Pampers. And she just came and we suffered. It was tough. Lived in Cape Town, fine, managed to sort my papers, but it was tough. I usually say, you know, if there's one place where I ate bread and it was like cardboard, like, you know, it was no longer tasting anymore because I didn't have anyone to help me, you know. And there I am with my mother, then she like looks at me like, this guy, you must come back to church and, you know. So fine, I mean, life happened, came back to Joburg, fine, things started opening up, got my first job at Rowan Merchant Bank, okay, things started opening up. But now remember now there's that condemnation, like, you know. Yeah. And I remember, to me, this is where religion kills us. So I was more like in a, you know, the environment that I was in at Right Mentioned Bank, a lot of guys, like, they've got, like, your 2 kids, 1 child. But people always ask you, how many kids do you have? And I'm like, I've got 1. But now there's that sense of guilt, you know, like, but I've got 2 other kids, you know. But because of religion, now I'm trying to look good. And remember, I grew up like, my parents were always giving me this credit, you know. I was one guy, like, I'm being compared with my brother, I'm being compared with my siblings. The pressure. Victor cleans the house, Victor is, you know, schooling, he's getting prizes, Victor, he's a cool guy. And this is what I always say to people. You know, when you try to be a good person, this is where you destroy your life. So now I'm living a fake life because now I'm trying to be God. You know, I even remember one thing, maybe just to rewind. So when my wife, when we brought both families, you know, I was already drinking alcohol, but because I want to look good, you know, so I was very close to my parents-in-law. You know, I'm still very close to them, and now they were like church people. They even invited me to their church. I got baptized. But remember, on the other side now, my mom is like, "But this guy, you grew up here. Now you're getting baptized in another church." But I became very close to them, you know. But then it went to a point, you know, where because I'm trying to be good. So when we brought families together, and my mom, I remember now, my mom is accepted now. She's like, "Victor, you drink. I mean, there's alcohol." I'm like, "Hey, no, I don't drink." Because I'm trying to maintain, you know, this picture that Victor is a good guy, you know. And deep inside, I have the image. And deep inside, so it's like I'm trying to fit in this religion cloth, you know. And to me, which is what destroyed. That's why I call myself the Uncondemned Dad, because I had to transform from that condemnation to be a very uncondemned person, you know. So years went by, and I remember my mom's words one time. She says to me, "Victor, you must take all your kids and have them in one roof. You will never be poor for the rest of your life." Those were her words. And now I'm in that marriage. Then my wife now, she's got a second child, right? After the second child, boom, Victor being Victor, met another girl, I'm married, right? Boom, girl gets pregnant. Now there's a fifth child. Right. All right. Now your first instinct, because you want to maintain that image. Now that's when you start speak about abortion and those kind of things. And my ex says, never do that. But the pressure on my side is, I've got this image. Already I've got 2 other kids. So, which means this is who I am, you know? But I'm still trying to paint that picture. And I've got a good job. I'm in Rand Merchant Bank. You know, life is really getting good now. You know, I've started a business and, you know. But now, boom, there's another child. Okay, child gets born. Because you are hiding, you know, it's a tough life because now she gets sick. You have to sneak out and try to maybe call your friends, please make a plan. You're sending money. And I'm that kind of person that if you're my wife, you know, you're going to be a signature in my account and all that. Now we have to make means. So now we are living like a fake life. So maybe you have to make your friend claim that maybe you owe me, send money, she sends the money to her, you know, that kind of lifestyle. You know, and now you get a call, you know, she's in labor. Boom, and you're in the house now. You know, you need to make a plan. Yeah. Definitely you need to lie. You know, and I remember it was just the 2 of us in the hospital and like, you know, and deep inside, like the condemnation is just something else, like it's eating you, you know, and remember you've got still 2 other kids that you're not taking care of, you know, and now it's like things are opening up, things have opened up, you know, you are making a bit of money, but it's so hard now to say, when am I going to sit with her and say, I've got 2 other kids, you know? But anyway, with this one, she knew, okay, she gave birth and obviously I have to take care of her. Okay, happened. So my ex-wife, guess she's my ex now, we got divorced after about 9 years. So she had another child, so she had 3 kids, right? So when she had a child, then now 6 kids, right? So now I've got 6 kids now with 4 women, right? All right. Then after the 3rd child, we got divorced. You know, to be honest, like I usually say, I didn't know what I was doing. To me, I mean, if you ask me about marriage right now, it's a commitment. It's beyond love. You know, it's love will never create any marriage. You know, but during that time, we thought, you know, we're in love. You know, this is my high school sweetheart, and we are so much in love. But you start to realize that, you know, love is just an output. You know, but you need to make that decision that I want to get married. And with us, there was nothing like that. You know, so we got divorced, and to me, honestly, I think it was expected. But I usually say it doesn't help me to speak about her, so I speak more of myself, and obviously I made a lot of mistakes, you know. And to me, I need to take that responsibility. It's not that I was young, but I always say that no one prepares you for life, no one prepares you for marriage, you know. We just saw like my dad and my mom. Yes, they used to fight, but they kept it going, you know. How they were doing it, you know, we never even questioned, you know. So you get to a point now, got divorced. So when I got divorced now, so it's like my life has always been I always say, I don't even remember when I was single. Because already I've got issues with my current wife. Already there's another woman on the side. And I usually say, in my whole life, even before I had kids, I'd always had 2 women in my life. That's my life story. Always, it was always there's 2 women in my life, sometimes even more. Even I'm talking about even at high school. I remember one time when I was doing Form 4, one day I'm just coming out of school and 4 girls are just waiting for me. Like, yeah, so I'm your girlfriend. I'm also your girlfriend, So you start to realize that most of the things that happened in our life, it all started when you're very young. Later in the years, you start to understand. Sometimes I've called this word that most of us are more like subconscious polygamists.
Whoa.
And I look at my friends as well.
Wow.
And I look at my friends as well. Most of my friends are married, but I can tell you they're all cheating. Actually, I can say most 100% of my friends, they're actually cheating. And that's why sometimes I get to associate with...
Do you think your friends' wives are going to watch the show?
I never thought about that. I think someone is going to be in trouble. But at the end of the day, the reason why I'm promoting my story as well is that, let's come out of this lie that we're living. Because it's a lie, I'm sure Tino knows. I'm a preacher as well. I'm not a pastor, but I preach. I preach the gospel. That's my calling. And that's the calling that I have. And the first thing, I've had the grace of training pastors in Zim, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Kenya, US. But that's the first thing that I mentioned, my story. That I've got 8 kids with 6 different women. That's my story, And I want you to see me as I am. And I usually say, everyone in this room has a similar story. But because of this image that you want to portray, you're hiding your story. But I usually say your breakthrough is in that story. I remember what happened, just to share the story. So it happened one time, I was training pastors in Kenya. So after the second day, this old man comes to me, like an old man, like older than my dad. He comes to me and like he's tearing, he says, I've got branches in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. Almost every branch that I have, he's a bishop, I've got a child with a congregant. But he says, your story today has given me the confidence to go back to my wife and tell him about all these kids. So to me, when we speak about, I usually say, I'm not a religionist. I'm not a conventional church goer. I don't go to church. I don't believe in this Sunday thing. I used to. But I went to a point of I just need a relationship with God. That's what I need. I do fellowships in the house. I do fellowships. I can come to yours. I can come to yours and have a fellowship. To me, that's church for me. But the moment there's this powerful man who's always in front of the people, and to me, he's just misleading people. Because at the end of the day, every human being, we've got that carnal nature in us.
Yeah. That
when I become this man, then I'm now going to compromise the message to push my own agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, fine. My wife, and the kids, they do go to church, but I don't. But we have fellowship in the house, every day. And I fellowship with different people. I do have conferences here and there, So I'm not your conventional preacher, But the basis of my preaching is more like the revelation of Christ in my story. So I usually say, if you want to speak about grace, then look at me.
Yeah.
Look at a guy that at 22 years of age, he had 3 women pregnant. Look at a guy that had kids while married. That's my story, Because usually when I start sharing my story, I can tell you, one by one, people come to me and say, I've got a similar story, And I usually say, like I always say the dilemma, especially in this country. I remember one person was saying, the most confusing day in South Africa is Father's Day because people don't know their fathers. And I usually say a lot of guys are not taking care of their kids because of that condemnation. I had that child when I was married, or when I'm still married. So now how am I going to break it down to my wife? So now imagine that young man or young girl is going to suffer just because this guy, when I maintain this, especially the religious image, which is, to me, that's one thing that is destroying us.
That's
you
true.
know.
So I wanted to actually ask that you said currently you have a wife. Is
Yeah.
she the one that you have the other 2 kids with?
No, she's
Because
got only
you
one
want-
child.
one child,
Yeah, so the
okay.
8th child, that's the man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So number 7 was...
Yeah, so number 7 is, like I said, I've always had like 2 women in my life. So okay, maybe let me rewind and go to number 7. So number 7 after divorce, so she becomes my wife, right?
Okay.
So I pay lobola, fine, she becomes my wife, But after the child is born, problem starts. And I usually say to this, even to my boys, that the moment that you have had multiple women in your life, it becomes difficult to really focus on one person.
One.
Because now there's that imagination always, There's that imagination always like, but I used to date so and so, So it's like your life, you can't commit somehow. It becomes difficult, Because remember now there's that pattern that has been built subconsciously, It's more like one woman is no longer enough for you. Like with me, what I've seen with my life is, it has always been in the past that, so when I'm with my current wife, my ex now becomes more attractive. And I start to pull them on the side. So it happened that with my number 7 mother, when things did not work out, it was like we're taking some time off, boom, I met the number 8 mother. Right? But remember that door is not really closed, It's like somehow she's there. And maybe one thing that's worth mentioning as well, somehow I attract broken women. Somehow. But the answer to that to me is, I've got a calling on the other side. So when I meet her, you find most of the time she tells me a story. I'm going to be kind of like subconsciously preach to her and motivate her, inspire her. And I'm not even supposed to date that person. But on this side, it's like, wow,
Oh, yes, you're feeding into it.
Yeah,
So
it's like God has sent a savior to me, And then it's like, boom, she becomes my girlfriend, And it has always, and I'll say this, it has always been difficult for the people that my exes, it's like somehow you find like they try to move on, but it's like they're always there somehow. And I usually say, sometimes maybe it's because I meet you on a kind of like a broken state, and I kind of like transform that, And now it's like then there's that binding now, because you met me at this place, but it didn't work out. Then you left, which is the unfortunate part.
So what is your current? It's a lot. But what is your current relationship with the 6 baby mamas right now? How do you manage that? And I commend you, of course, of taking all your children and living with them in one home. That's
I think you should start there. I think,
maybe, yeah.
like how did you get?
That's an
How did you
interest-
get all of them
And-
to live with you, and how did you get the mothers to
agree to that, yeah.
To be honest, like, it was a decision that I made on my side that, what, I'm going to take all my kids, right? And I guess, I know this is going to sound maybe wrong, but I guess it's also the economic status that you are in and the mother's economic status that they are in.
Okay.
So now, when you go to them, it's like, I now want to stay with my son. There isn't much resistance.
Because you're
But
going to
there's
provide.
been, I mean, it's not like it has been walking the path. You get resistance here and there, but it's like, to me, it was just a smooth flow.
Because you are saying
Yeah.
you are going to provide.
Yeah.
You're gonna, yeah.
And the something that I usually say as well is, sometimes I speak of kind of like a reincarnation of maybe your grandparents, because my grandparent, like his life was one-on-one with mine. My grandparent, one-on-one actually had like 17 women.
Whoa.
And was a very rich guy and very wealthy guy.
Yeah.
So somehow like you look at your path and like you see that resemblance.
Yeah, the lineage. It's there.
It's there, but like I always say, that's why I always say I'm not a conventional preacher or a conventional believer. I don't even call myself a Christian, but I'm just a believer. And I usually say, I believe in lineage because, I mean, if you go in the Bible as well, you see the lineage. And there's all those things that sometimes we throw away because of religion. But when you practically look at your life, you find this thing is real. Like it's you can really look at your life and trace it back. And that is my story. So okay, so it happens now. All right, so my current wife. Then now I'm taking all my kids. All right, all my kids now come under one roof. All the 8, right? And everything. I mean, I think that was really the turning point of my life. If there's one beautiful thing about my story, sometimes when you're having dinner, you're sitting there, and your kids don't even know that you're crying inside because you're looking at this beauty. I can tell you, if you can come to my house, you'll never get to know if I won't tell you that this kid's got different mothers. They're so tight, So that's the beauty of my story. They're all in one roof. And the other thing as well, I was very close to my mom. And it has been kind of like a dream come true. The words that she told me, and here there are the kids. Sometimes it pains me when I go to Zim and I go to my parents' house. Like right now, we're planning a trip and say, guys, you know what? We're not going anywhere else. We're just going to a parents' house. It's empty. There's no one there. All of us, I want all of us, the 10 of us are going to be there. And I'm like, you know what? I think this is a gift to my parents. I want them to see their grandchildren, all of them as healthy as they are. They all go to school. The older ones, one is at varsity now, the other one is doing music. I think Tima was introduced. Yeah. Then my daughter as well finished drama. Has got a diploma in drama. She's an actress. She finished drama. So you look at that story, but at the end of the day, like I always say, everything is a story. Everything is a story. And you start to realize, I remember one time, one of my sons, Caleb, said to me, have you ever thought that maybe your kids are your calling? I mean, that calling comes before even getting married. Because that seems to be working for you. But compared to the marriages that you had. And it really made me to think, I'm like, And remember, I can safely say I don't even have 8 kids, I've got more. So I've got this thing that has been happening in my life where I meet Tino. Tino comes and says, hey, I've got a problem with my son. Can he come to your house? And I've had like a number of kids. And they become part of me. And most of them, when they stay with me, they'll now ask and say, can we stay here? Fine, I won't want to mention names, but I've had kids in my house. I still have kids in my house.
Yeah.
So then you start to really dig down and say, but this is who I am. If I can relate with kids in this manner, this is who I am. So then there was that transformation now saying, Victor, you know what? Now you're coming out of this closet. You are going to tell the world who you are. How many kids you have. Then I decided, I'm going to tell my story as is. As raw as is. And I can tell you, to me, that was the transformation of my life. I mean, I've gone to places like the US where like this story, like it's like this guy, I remember I went to John, so I did John Maxwell program. So I remember I was in Florida one time and so they give you this 5 minutes, to share your story. And I just shared that story. And the first response was like, what? But once they start to listen to me, after that, everyone wants to speak to me. And I can tell you, every person has a story. But religion is kind of like bearing people's stories. And to me, I always say 99% of people in church, they're all fake. They are all fake and they don't have a relationship with God at all. Because they are all kind of like painting this picture that, we are good people. I married my wife when I was young, my wife was a virgin, I was a virgin, and this is where we are. I've never slept. I'm like, that's nonsense. To me, don't even preach. I don't listen to people like that. But I want someone who's going to, bring that deity and filthiness. Because to me, that's what Christ came from. Tell me, everyone has a story. But for me that's why we've got a lot of motivational speakers. But if you don't tell me your story, I'm not going to listen to you. I want to know your story. But if you're just going to take things from Google and start to tell me all these words and what, I don't want to listen to that. But tell me your story. What is your story?
So tell me, with what you've gone through, what do you aspire for your children? I mean, with what happened to you, how do you
With regards to marriage, you mean?
with regards to marriage and being committed to one partner and everything. How do you preach that message to your children, or is that the message you preach to them? And do you have those scenarios where maybe your children might say to you, but dad, look at you, look at what happened to you. It can, like trying to make you,
Like one of your
trying to
sons
make
got
you
pretty
understand.
girlfriends and he's like,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, but dad,
When you mentioned that, so one time I said to my son, I don't wish you guys to be like me,
Yeah.
I wish you get married at a younger age, build your life, have the woman that you love. Then my son then I'm not in coma then. He's making a joke, but he says, then I'm not in coma because comos are not like that.
They're not like that.
So, but what I always say to them is, guys, as much as, because they think like I've got the best life, and no matter the challenges, but I usually say, guys, it's not as easy as you think. And it's not easy. As much as one can look at my story and I glorify my story, it's not as easy as that. There are days where, you look at your bills, you're like, it's hard. It really gets hard. And there are times where this mother now will give you this and that, and there are times where the other mother wants to fight the one in the house, There are times where your ex-wife thinks like, but you know what, I was the first wife, and there's that mentality that I'm still the wife. And I've got 3 kids.
Yes.
So the message that I always preach to them is peace and harmony. And I remember, I think about 2 months back. So I was just like posting, some of them and writing messages. I like writing. So I said, I want to write this message. I want to, kind of like speak about peace and harmony, because I always say, if you look at my life, I prosper more where there's peace and harmony. So I wrote a message, very nice piece, and then I said like, but which picture should I put? All the mothers of my kids. I'm like, no, let me put one, but I'm going to put my ex-wife because she's got 3, So I did that, but I realized I've always had a relationship with her, but I realized after that, it's like I brought her even closer, So even on their birthdays, you find I'll post them and I'll write sweet messages. Mother's Day, I'll do the same, And the other thing that I've tried to cultivate as well is, I say to my kids, this is your mother in the house. All the other ones are your mothers as well, So you find, like, for example, my ex-wife, mother to the number 7, it was her birthday in November. And I said to the kids, guys, so usually call him Mam Kulu, but not in the literal sense. So I said, guys, their birthday, so Musa, her son, so I'm like, what does your mom want? Like, no, Daddy, she wants this perfume, and, we go and buy the perfume, we buy them. My wife actually bought flowers. And the kids from school, they went to her house and, they spent the whole day and they came late. To me, that's what it's all about, And even when they're like looking at the photos, I'm like, guys, to me, this is my story. This is the peace and the harmony that I want to see, But not that, there hasn't been fights. There's been fights. But I always say, my only fight and the only weapon that I use to fight this battle is to take care of my kids. That's the only thing. So they can write things to me. I don't even entertain that. My focus is really to say, I want these 8 kids to be the best of the best. I have to ignite hope to them each and every day, regardless. And I want to prove to the world and say, regardless of my story, but this is the output of my story. Yeah.
Okay.
Yo.
Prayers is too much for you. Just a comment.
Yeah.
I think this is the first episode I've seen prayer this quiet. This is a record.
I know, bro. Like, I'm hearing
You're
myself
soaking
quiet,
it
and
in.
I'm just like, where do I even begin?
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
So why did you never consider just becoming a full-time polygamist? Because it seems as though that's how you're living your life, despite you having your children under one roof and somehow managing to control 6 different female personalities.
Somehow, indeed.
They say every woman has got 16 personalities, so 6 times. All those personalities. Why didn't you just embrace the whole polygamy and go with it?
I think this transformation from religion, it's kind of like a gradual process. Because at the back of your mind, subconsciously, there's that mind
You
that says
can't.
polygamy is wrong.
Oh,
You
yes.
can't.
Oh, yes.
You know, and I usually say, although I think my mind is different now, but I usually say, today women have become so powerful to convince us that polygamy is wrong, but which is not right. And it's like us as men as well, we're somehow accepting that lie, and it's a lie. So I think it has been kind of like a journey for me, you know, because now I usually try to imagine and say, okay, I've got these 8 kids in one roof, and it's a beautiful setup. All right, now if I decide, and I've tried it, by the way. So remember, I've said I've always had 2 women in my life. So number 7 and number 8, there's always friction. Why? Because when I married number 8, it's like number 7 was still there. I'd paid lobola for her as well, right? So I got tired because these people, like, they were just throwing bombs at each other each and every time.
Was that under the same roof or no?
No. So, but it was not an official setup.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But it was not official to my wife in the house to say, I am seeing Musa's mom as well. She's there.
Okay.
But she was young and so was like, no, I will never take that. She will leave, come back, leave and come back. And Musa's mom, which is the seventh child, who always say, she's from KZN, and she was like, why don't you just formalize this, you know? And she always say that to me. But it went into me at some point, to be honest, it was really stressing me. The fights were just up and down. I could not manage them. And I remember that year I went to US. And I was like excited, you know what, I'm US, I'm alone. And I remember I went to Disneyland alone, and I'm having drinks. You know, I could not even finish a beer. It was just tears, man, just tears. Like, I've got the money, you know, everything is, but this thing is like, it's really stressing me. How can I come out of this?
Oh, yeah.
Then this is where I made, I would usually say, maybe one of my wrong decisions.
I hope it wasn't another kid in the US.
No. No, not even. So I said to myself, you know, that time, sometimes as a person, like, you're trying to run away from reality. You've got 2 women in your life. And everyone is saying, Victor, just formalize this. But somehow, like, it's a bit difficult for you. Then I decided, like, you know what? I'm going back to South Africa. I'm done with these 2 people. Let me get someone who's neutral, who's going to understand my story as is. Yeah, that was the biggest
Mistake.
Mistake, I'll call it. Boom, I meet someone on Facebook, like, we become friends, just friends, you know? And my current wife knows it, like, okay, she's coming from the UK and, you know, but we're friends, like, there's nothing, we're friends. When I'm coming from the UK, I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this too. I'm tired of these fights. Boom, and I ask her out, like, hey, no, Victor, you know, you're not. Okay, then we end up having a date, and 3 months, got married.
Wow.
3 months, like, got married, went to Home Affairs, signed Home Affairs, we are married. Did do members and everything, and, you know, sometimes I usually say, when the man is there, you are so vulnerable to make mistakes. Because sometimes your money becomes your God, and you think, like, you know, I can do this. They ask whatever price, lobola, like, I'm in. Done. Move in. Now it's like those 2 people, now I'm done with them. But you're lying to yourself. Those people are still there. You know? So it's like you've got 3 women now. You know? 6 months down the line, divorced. Okay, there was no child.
Okay.
You know, then now reality kicked in to answer your question. I said, you know what? I'm now formalizing this polygamy now. I called my elders. I said, okay, I called both of them because they are now back. Remember, the world is gone. They are now back. The scenario, the status quo that was there before, back in action. All right, I sit them down. My uncle is there. My brother is there. Like, no, the reason why we called you is Victor is saying he paid lobola for both of you, and you guys are still in his life, and you want to marry you both. All right, so my current wife was still young, and it's like, no, I'm out, you know. I'll never be in a polygamy. And she left. I'm like, problem solved, you know. Then my other wife then moved in. So now we're fine, you know.
Okay.
Then we find now, and she made a decision like, no, I'm leaving. But she's the one in the house now. But I'll tell you how she bounced back anyway.
Ping pong.
So, all right, she moved in, you know, and that was like after, I mean, this is recent, like after COVID. You know, financially things like took a turn, eh? Like everything is well, even COVID. I mean, I've got a medicals company, COVID, like I was going, like, mine is like just flowing, like, you know. But after COVID, somehow she moved in. I'm not sure what the reason for that. Although my current wife like was also painting that picture, and the kids are now painting. But there is all this money, but all of a sudden, like everything is like, you know,
Going south.
going south, and all right. And my ex as well is like, you know, I think it's me. You have always made money, but why right now? Like you're losing, everything is not working, you know. So she got depressed as well, and you know, I'm trying to say it's not you. You know, life is in seasons. I mean, you know, to me, it's my season as well of not having money. It's okay, you know, things are gonna be fine. But you went to a point where, actually, to be honest, I'm the one who said, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe you need to take some time off, you know. And she decided to take some time off, and you know, and in the midst of that, okay, I stayed really maybe for, I think almost a year. Like I'm just with my kids, you know. And somehow things start moving up again.
Oh, shit.
You know, things start moving up again. And my current wife now, then I sit down, I'm like to my kids, you know what, guys? I'm you know yourself. I'm not a guy that can stay alone. And I don't want to start creating relationships left, right, and center. Because I know it's going to go that side. So you know what? Maybe they say maybe the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't know. Then this is how she bounced back. I'm like, you know, she started visiting, and boom, I'm like, it's okay. She comes back.
Okay.
You know?
I've got a question though.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for owning your story and actually being able to speak about it in public. It will definitely help a lot of men out there that are struggling with the same situation or something quite similar to what you went through. I just wanted to know if any of your past or previous partners have actually moved on with their lives. Did they actually end up getting married again? Do they have partners, or they're still waiting for Victor one day to just say, you know what, come and join and be a part of my family?
I think it's only one that like, and anyway, there was never a relationship. You
Okay.
know? It was, you know, that thing, I'm at varsity, there's a party, boom, someone is pregnant.
Okay.
So, but I know that she moved on. I think she's got about 3 kids now. But there was never a relationship anyway. But the ones that I really had a relationship, somehow, they haven't really moved on. They're still there, you know. I remember there's a friend of mine from DRC one day. So there's this videos that maybe you know you've seen them. So sometimes I just bring my kids. I'm like, let's have a podcast. Ask me any question, you know. So one time my daughter says, "Daddy, how many wives do you have?" Then I'm like, guys, you know I've got one. Like never did. You've got my mom. Then he mentions all of them, you know. So my friend is watching. Then she gives me a call like, your son is correct. Spiritual, these people are all your wives.
Exactly.
You know. And it made me like really sit down and like, maybe he's right, you know, because you find even the relationship that I have, I try to keep a distance, you know. Sometimes even my wife accuses me of like, you know, sometimes the words that you say to those people, I'm like, you know, I think sometimes my biggest weakness as well is I can't stand pain, you know, and sometimes I overdo it. So whether it's my ex, whether it's Tino, when there's pain, I'll try to pitch in somehow, you know. But remember, if it's your ex now, you start to interpret that wrongly. You know, it's like, maybe this guy, maybe there's still a chance, you know. Oh, yeah. But I usually say even to my wife to say, you know, if let's say Tandega's mother she's not feeling well, if I don't really pitch in and try to help, it's going to affect her.
Yeah.
You know, and once it's affecting it, it's going to affect all the other kids as well, you know. So I've got that role, and I've given myself that role. You know, even my wife knows. I usually say, the dream that I have is to buy all these mothers' houses, and I'm going to do it. You know, and I think to me there was a reason why God used them to be the mothers of all those kids, and I need to honor that as well. You know, so I've always tried to be there in their lives, no matter what. So if I get a message like one of them is sick, I mean, I have to run. Whether she's in, I will run. You know, and sometimes even it's just relatives. You know, and I struggle. And sometimes my wife, even my other friends, were like, Victor, that's not. You don't have to play that role, but I struggle, and it starts to eat me. You know, like this is not me. I can't stand pain. You know, and sometimes I usually say, I think. I'm obsessed by giving, and I give sometimes more than that I'm supposed to give. And sometimes maybe those are the things that kind of like confuse my life. But sometimes also go back and like, this is who I am. I can't change it, you know? And maybe I also need to have someone that's going to understand that. But it becomes difficult, especially for a woman to say, but, you know, we're married now, but why are you still doing A, B, C, D, you know? I mean, we had an issue with my wife recently, but why do you have to post all these women, like your exes? It's a birthday, but why do you have to post it? I said, you know what? Yeah, I remember even my brother said to me, no, but you need to be sensitive to her. I think she's got a point, you know? But on my side, I'll be like, but there's nothing that I'm doing, you know? I even remember like a recent story now. So I was doing 94.7, you know, so I do cycling. So it had happened that the other kids had visited my ex, right? Musa's mom. So now they're like, Daddy, but when I come to 94.7, I'm like, okay, guys, go to Waterfall, and we're going to be passing there. Then I'm going to see you there. Then my wife had said, okay, we're just going to be in Lawn Hill because we live in Danfin. So I'm like, we're going to be in Lawn Hill. So it was you pass, then we'll see you. So now, obviously, I passed Waterfall first, and I see them. Then we're taking photos, you know. And I could see my ex like, no, take with the kids. I'm like, no, just come in, you know, because I'm excited. I mean, I love cycling. Then I take photos, you know. Then go to Lawn Hill, then my wife is waiting with all the kids, then we take photos. Now, after the race, then I'm just posting those photos. Then the mood changes. My wife is like, no ways. No ways, you know. I mean, I was still in the polygamy. What's happening? I'm like, no, honestly, there's nothing. But look at the excitement from the kids. So I remember I've got an uncle, like it's my dad's brother. You know, he lives in Boston. One time he said to me, Victor, how many % are you giving to your wife and how many % are you giving to your kids? He says, don't answer me, but let me just give you an answer. If you are giving 70% to your kids and 30% to her, you will never get married in your life. He says, I want you to change that from today. Give the higher percentage to your wife and then the lower percentage to your kids. It's not that you don't love them, because if you want to build, you need a wife. You know, and I found that very, very powerful, and he was correct.
That's deep.
You know.
Okay, I've got a lot of questions.
We've been building.
I mean, you answered a lot of them as you were going with the story, so that was brilliant. But how much do you pay in school fees?
It's not a lot, eh? Okay, so this is what I did. Some years back, so I had my other kids. They used to go to Trevorton in Moy River. The other kids used to go to Christian College in Midrand. I think my other daughter was at this other private school in Kalam as well. Yeah, I was here. It was tough. You know, fine. I was paying it because, you know, private school, there's no dodging. Like, you have to pay, you know. But I realized, like, I mean, Trevorton, you're looking at about over 200,000 per year, and they've got 2 kids in that school. These other schools, almost, but they're lower. So I was here, like, you know what? And I was actually reading the Bible, you know, with my wife, and I'm like, my current wife. And there's a scripture that says, your kids are going to be taught by me. It was like a revelation. I'm like, I went to a public school.
Oh, yeah.
There are good public schools here in Joburg. You know, I didn't even wait for the term to finish.
You moved.
I said, I'm moving all my kids to a public school. You know? I said, as long as the administration is good leadership, and I took them out.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a place. Okay, so that's what drives me. Like, I've got that faith. Like, if I'm saying I'm doing something, I'm doing
You just go ahead.
Yeah. So I said, okay, all my kids are out. I remember, so the young ones actually were going to Wendwood Primary School, you know, here in Sandton. So I went there. I said, guys, I'm looking for a place for 3 kids. And it was 4 kids then. This lady says, Victor, do you see? I mean, it's in the middle of the term. You can't. There's no way that she's an old lady. She's left now. I'm like, you need to help me. They need to be at school. She's like, okay, leave your number, you know. And same day she called me like, no, 2 of them they've got a place. I'm like, but the other 2, like, no, the other 2 we can't. The other one is in grade 1. It was even difficult. She's like, there's no way. After 2 days, she calls me like, okay, we have managed to squeeze them in. Did the same with the older ones. There were 3 high school, the same. You know, I think I was now paying not even a 10th, maybe it was a 100th of what I used to pay. There was so much relief, and that's my decision. Private schooling is overpriced. I'll never take my kids to private school. And my kids are doing well in public school. My other boy right now, the ones that are still in school, goes to Parktown Boys. It's a government school, very good school. My daughter goes to 4 years high. Good school as well, you know, and compared to what I could have been paying now, you know. So yeah, so it's not as bad as before. But I
Victor,
remember
how do you manage the school runs, man?
I know. No, we've got an au pair, so we've got an au pair that's good. She's got her own car, so she drives them, and she does the homework and everything.
So tell me, so my wife and I have a tradition that we do with our kids, or how we try to pour into our kids. We have a day in the week where we take walks with them.
Okay.
Right? My son will go with the mom, I will go with my daughter, go for 10, 20 minutes, we switch them, we, you know, just to have that private talk, and also have time in between to try and pour into them. How does that look for you? With 8, how do you make time for each of your children?
Yeah. Okay. Let me get into the Bible to explain that concept. You know, I usually say to a lot of people, when you look at Jesus Christ, you know, people always assume that he spent most of his time with the disciples and in ministry, but he spent most of his time with his Father. Most of the times, and he prayed alone. So most of the times he would leave the disciples and go to his Father. And that's the concept that I use. So I usually say to my kids, you know, there's a blessing of your Father, and I want individual to spend time with me. So we've got like individual, you know, call it meetings, whatever, you know, have one-on-one. They'll pour everything. Sometimes they'll share how unhappy they are. It happens, like the story that I like want to, but I used to take a lot of other kids, you know, try to mentor them, and they'll come to my house. And sometimes, like, just to give an example, my other son says, Daddy, can't you help these other kids out of our house?
Not to bring them in.
Not to bring them in, because, you know, sometimes they'll clash and all that. And, okay, we have stopped now, but we used to have, like, for years, we used to have fellowship at 5 a.m. every day, without fail. And if you're a visitor to know a prayer house, let me in my house, 5 o'clock, we are up, we have got that fellowship. And I think that's one thing that I always say, it gave a good grounding for my kids. You know, it gave a lot of discipline. But besides that, even we've got different fellowships that we have, but I do also the individual fellowships as well. Boys fellowship, girls fellowship, yeah. But the other ones are still young, so at their level as well. Because I usually say, there's no better leadership role than being a father. Because remember, like in my case, I've got 8 unique, different people in the house. And like, I'll give you an example. So like my son was a DJ that, you know, at grade 10, he says, Daddy, this is not for me. And Daddy, please don't force me. I'm out. Now, the other ones, they're academic kids, you know. Now, this is when now you look at him and it's like, okay, cool, I'll support you, you know, because you've got a different current and it has worked out. You know, he earns his own money and all that. But yeah, so we also have that tradition as well, that I spend time with each one of them as well.
I particularly like what you said about the subconscious polygamy.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to get into that, because I feel like there's a lot of that happens in everyday lives, but it also spans across beyond just relationships. I feel like a lot of people have a hard time owning who they are and being able to just lead with, this is who I am, and, you know, these are the things that I struggle with, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then just sort of being vulnerable. And I mean that because we do this podcast, we've learned that the more people are honest and open, the more you can help other people. Because in just conversations, we've just learned so much from just listening to each other or just listening to other people. And I feel like that's something that really needs to change. So what made you come up with that phrase, subconscious polygamy, and how bad do you think it is, like in today's society?
Yeah, you know, I've always been a guy that don't believe in psychology.
Right.
You know, when someone says, "No, I need to have an appointment in psychology," I'm like, "No, man, that's not science." You know, I don't wanna attend those things. But it happened. I think it was about 6 years back. I just woke up one day. I'm like, "No, you know what? Let me see someone." So a friend of mine introduced me to this Jewish lady, right? She's a psychologist. So I went to meet her. But, you know, I'm going there, but with this negativity, like, does these things work, you know? And we have the first session, and I remember the second session, she says to me, "Victor, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine your life maybe from 1 year to 7 years." And when she says that, I'm like, this lady, I mean, why should I remember, you know? But, you know, I closed my eyes. Immediately when I closed my eyes, I started crying. Like, uncontrollably, like, I'm crying, like, you know, she's like, "Okay, tell me about that." You know, and somehow, now I'm seeing my dad beating my mom, you know? Something that I've never spoken to anyone about. I've always said, you know, my parents were the best of the best, you know? But when I just opened my eyes, I'm like, I'm seeing my dad beating my mom, and my mom is gone, and it's just the two of us with my brother. And my dad is so strict, like beat us, and, you know, and now, because I was a little boy, and obviously when my mom is gone, now I'm looking for my mom, you know? Then she said something that I think changed a lot of things about myself. She says, because she said to me one time, "Have you ever tried to live alone without a wife?" I said, "I tried." I said, "I'll make that decision that from now on I want to be alone with my kids." Mm-hmm. But immediately that person is gone, it won't even take me weeks. Like, I feel that void.
Find another one.
And my kids will come to me and say, "Daddy, you become harsh when you're alone. Go out." They start joking. "Daddy, go out, go and meet someone," you know? And then that lady said to me, "So when you're alone, you're not looking for a wife. You're looking for your mom." And I started, and she was spot on. I started to look at even the women that I marry. It's like my mom, like one-on-one, this is my mom. They are characters. Then that's when I really started to dig deep about this subconscious thing, you know? To say, what happens in your life now is a function of what happened to you, maybe from the last trimester of your mom and to about 7 years. And it's true. Sometimes...
So was that you actually replaying history when you saw your
I was
dad
playing history. And I want to say this, not that my dad was a very abusive, okay, he was kind of like abusive, but also there was a reason, because my grandmother left him when he was about 4 years in the villages, and he was alone. So he grew up with this anger. My dad had this anger, you know? So I say this, I think I never had anything against my dad because I understood his story. I remember he used to share this story with us that one time, so he had like his auntie, like his mother's sister, not far. Now, he has been left about 4 years, 5 years, and there's one cow. Sometimes you go to his auntie and eat there. Sometimes you have to cook and whatever. My grandmother has gone to Bulawayo, so now he's left in Plumtree, and he says one day he got sick. And now he goes to his auntie, says, "I'm not well, please take me to hospital." You know, and my grandmother, my sister's grandmother says, "I don't have money." Then my dad says, "Okay, I'm selling my cow." Then she buys that cow. And my dad will share that story and she'll start crying, you know. So when that lady took me through that process, I understood why my dad was so angry. You know, and I remember after that session with that Jewish lady, I phoned my brother. I'm like, "Hey, maybe something's going wrong. Was this happening?" She's like, "Spot on." Dad, as much as he loved us, but he had this anger that I did not understand. And when you were young, you know, so I'm like, yeah, you know, and it took me days to recover from that. And I started to really understand myself, like, oh, okay, so this is what's happening. Yeah.
So, sorry, so do you think maybe that incident is what contributed to how your life has turned out? To having 8 kids with 6 different women? Because you're saying each of them are your mother's personalities.
Yeah, so sometimes I think most probably I'll have you in my life, right? So sometimes I put it this way that so your characteristics get to a point where they don't match everything about my mom.
Oh,
I'm
they
looking
fall
for the
short
second person
somewhere.
now, fall short somewhere. Then I'm
You
looking for
want to
the next
complement
person
with
now to
another woman.
complement that.
Okay.
You know, and I remember I used to also kind of like give my mom as an example in most times. You know, which is something that's very wrong. I mean, you know, but I think my answer will be yes.